Hey, Bayek, it's me, Ian. And in today's video, I'm looking at this. This is The Good Die Young from 1954. And it is 100 minutes long. And Rotten Tomatoes give it 54%, which is sort of about right for them. This is a really good film and a good cast. I think that's the important thing. This film has got such a great cast, as you see as I go through. It's a really good film. I really enjoyed it. Now, it's based on the novel The Good Die Young by Richard Macaulay. And the screenplay is by Vernon Harris, and the director, Lewis Gilbert, who, of course, directs the film. Lewis Gilbert, well, he directed such a lot of great films. There's some of them. Kosh Boy, 1953. Reach for the Sky, 1956. Sink the Bismarck, 1960. Alfie, 1966. You Only Live Twice, 1967, my favourite Bond film. The Spy Who Loved Me, from 1977. Moonraker, 1979. And then Educating Rita, great film, 1983. Shirley Valentine, 1989. Haunted, 1995. And Before You Go, 2002. Brilliant. I just also mentioned the cinematography, which is brilliant, and that is by Jack Asher. Okay, so let's get into the cast. The cast is headed by Lawrence Harvey, who plays Miles Ravencroft. His career went back, 1948, House of Darkness, The Black Rose, 1950, Three Men in a Boat, 1956, The Silent Enemy, 1958, and, now this is important, Room at the Top, 1959, which became quite an iconic role for him. He was also in Espresso Bongo, 1959, The Alamo, Western, 1960, The Manchurian Candidate, brilliant film, 1962, The Running Man, 1963, Darling, oh yes, Darling, 1965, Julie Christie, brilliant. Life at the Top, yes, Life at the Top, of course, 1965, brilliant in that. Another great British film, The Charge of the Light Brigade, 1968. He was in a film called The Deep, 1970. And Welcome to Arrow Beach, 1974. Those are not all, but they're just some of his great films that he's in. What an actor. Next, we've got Margaret Leighton, who plays Eva. She goes back 1948 with The Winslow Boy, then Under Capricorn, 1949. The Ollie and the Ivy, 1952. The Sound of the Fury, 1959. Seven Women, 1966. And I've got to mention this, of course, The Go-Between, 1971, which I love, and it's a Lucy film. It's brilliant. She was in Lady Caroline Lamb, 1972. Bequest to the Nation, 1973. And she was in the horror anthology From Beyond the Grave, 1974. And Trial by Combat, 1976. Brilliant. Then we've got an actor I absolutely think is fantastic. I love him. Stanley Baker. Oh, yeah. Now, he plays Mike. Oh, he's such a great actor. You can't talk enough about him. And he goes back to 1943. His first role was in Undercover. He was in The Cruel Sea, 1953. He was in Hell Below Zero, 1954. He was in Richard III, brilliant Olivier film, 1955. He was in Hell Drivers. Oh, yeah, we've done that one. Brilliant, 1957. And of course, he was in the brilliant film I always talk about, a Hammer film, Yesterday's Enemy, 1959. He was in Hell is a City, 1960, which I've reviewed as well on this channel. He was in The Criminal as well, which is another brilliant. I mean, what films? These are 1960. And he was in The Guns of Navarone, 1961. And of course, the role that I think people remembering most for, but as I say, he's got such a wonderful filmography, is of course Zulu, 1964. But wow, I just love it. And I still haven't finished, have I? Of course, he was in Accident, 1967, which is another Losey film. See, Losey really liked him. Robbery, of course, which is so well known, 1967, brilliant. And another one I really love, Perfect Friday, 1970, Ursula Andress in that. And then he was in an Italian horror film, A Lizard in a Woman's Skin, 1971. He was in Zorro, 1975. And then his last film, Bride to Be, 1975. So much respect for him as an actor. He was fantastic. Love him. And then we've got Rennie Ray, who plays Angela. She goes back 1929, silent era, High Treason, the first film she was in. She was in When London Sleeps, 1932. Tiger Bay, 1934. Full Circle, 1935. The Rat, 1937. The Call for Arms, 1940. If Winter Comes, 1947. The Galloping Major, 1951. Women of Twilight, 1952. And The Vicious Circle, 1957. Wow, some great films there. Then we've got John Ireland, who plays Eddie. Again, another career that's just full of some great films. A Walk in the Sun, 1945. My Darling Clementine, 1946. The Gangster, 1947. Joan of Arc, 1948. All the King's Men, 1949. Little Big Horn, 1951. The Glass Cage, 1955. The Gunslinger, 1956. Gunfight at the OK Corral, he's in that, 1957. The Fall of the Roman Empire, 1964. What a film. A Taste of Death, 1968. Escape to the Sun, 1972. Incubus, 1982. Waxwork 2, Lost in Time, 1992. I mean, that is just an amazing amount of films. Then we have got Gloria Grahame, who plays Denise. She was in 1944, Blonde Fever. She was in It's a Wonderful Life. Yes, It's a Wonderful Life, 1946. She was in The Greatest Showman, 1950. Showman on Earth, 1950. She was in The Lad and the Beautiful, The Bad and the Beautiful, 1952. She was in The Man Who Never Was, 1956. She was in Blood and Lace. Oh, yes, Blood and Lace, 1971. Great film, that one. And then she was in Mama's Dirty Girls, 1974. Cracky. And then we've got Melvin and Howard, 1980. And The Nesting, 1981. That is just some of her films. Absolutely brilliant. Then we've got another actor who I knew so much from the TV, but he had a film career. Richard Basehart, who plays Joe. He was in Cry Wolf, 1957. He was in 14 Hours, 1950. He was in Titanic, 1953. Moby Dick, 1956. Time Limit, 1957. Hitler, 1962. The Satan Bug, 1965. Rage, 1972. The Island of Dr. Moray, 1977. And he was in Being There, 1979, which Peter Sellers' last film. And that appears to be his last film as well. Wow, what can I say? But he's so well known, of course, from a TV show which I just absolutely loved as a child in the 60s. So between 1964 and 1968, he was in Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea, where he played, of course, Admiral Nelson, and he did 108 episodes. Wow. Oh, yeah. And then we can get all these actors and actresses that I love. We've got Joan Collins. Joan Collins, I love Joan Collins. Such a brilliant career. She plays Mary. Now, some of her films: Judgment Deferred, 1952. Kosh Boy, 1953. Brilliant Kosh Boy. She was in The Virgin Queen, 1955. Island of the Sun, 1957. Seven Thieves, 1960. She was in Warning Shot, 1967. She was in The Executioner, 1970. She was in Revenge, 1970. She was in Tales from the Crypt, 1972, which was a horror anthology, and she's brilliant in that one. She was in Fear in the Night. Wow, I love Fear in the Night. That's 1972. She was in Tales That Witness Madness. Oh, yeah, 1973. Another horror anthology. She was in Dark Places, 1974. Oh, just amazing. And I've got Alfie, Darling, the sequel to Alfie, 1975. She was in The Monster. Oh, The Monster. It's a brilliant horror film. I love The Monster, 1975. She was, and then became famous in the late 70s in The Stud, 1978, and The Bitch, 1979. She's brilliant in them. They're sort of like, I suppose you could call them sex comedy kind of things. I suppose they're not. I said comedy, but that's how you could look at them. I think they're supposed to be serious, but they're brilliant. I think they're good. Good in a bad way, if you see what I mean. I know they're not brilliant films, but I really enjoy them. And she was in Nutcracker, 1982, and I think people forget this. She was in Flintstones in Viva Rock Vegas in 2000. A Flintstones movie, and she's really good in that. Then The Time of Their Lives, 2017. She's still making films. And she was in The Loss Adjuster in 2020. Still making films. Absolutely brilliant. And then we've got one last actor I want to mention, even though, let's face it, he's only in one scene, but he's such a well-known actor, playing these kind of parts. Never massively big parts, but he, of course, is Robert Morley, who plays Sir Francis Ravencroft. His career goes back to 1947 with The Ghost of Berkeley Square. He was in The African Queen. What a film that is, with Bogart, 1951. He was in Melbourne, 1953. He was in Around the World in 80 Days, 1956. He was in Oscar Wilde, 1960. He was in Genghis Khan, 1965. He was in, of course, Life at the Top. Yes, Life at the Top. The brilliant. We've already mentioned links with that film. Yes. Doctor in Trouble, 1970. He was in Cromwell, 1970. Wow. Cromwell. I could just talk about Cromwell. I love Cromwell. When Eight Bells Toll, 1973. He was in Theatre of Blood, 1973, which is brilliant. Absolutely love Theatre of Blood. I mean, it's a classic with Vincent Price. He was in The Great Muppet Caper, 1981, and Trouble with Spies, 1987. Wow, that cast is amazing. And that's the cast I'm talking about. You say, well, what about the film? The film is brilliant. The basic plot is that four men come together. They've got no criminal records, but they're in trouble. And their marriages are threatened and relationships because their finances are collapsing. They need money. They desperately need money. And they come together in this pub and they decide they're going to do a robbery. Now, I think I say that, and the person who I think is actually a bit of the bad guy in the end is the Lawrence Harvey character who suggests all that, who plays Miles. He makes it all sound simple. Everything looks easy, and they're so kind of desperate. These four people come together and say, all right, we'll do it. Why not? Well, let's go and do this job. You know, they think it's made sound as if it's simple. But Lawrence Harvey doesn't tell them that they're going to have guns. He gives them guns. And of course, he's quite happy to use them, which they're not, of course, which is when things go wrong. I'm not going to give any more away, but the film is just, I think it's such a good film. And it brings out these characters that have come together just for that pure motive of getting some money. Nothing else. That's it. That's all they want. And how it all goes desperately wrong. It doesn't go how it was planned at all. And it's a great cast. The cast does such a great job, and I love the film. I'm so pleased it's in my collection. I really am, and I highly recommend it. I just love it. Here it is. Yeah, and this edition is absolutely fantastic. It's another BFI release. It's got all these extras on it. I mean, the extras are absolutely amazing. And it's a 2-disc collection. It's got a DVD as well as the Blu-ray. And it's got a lovely booklet. And the booklet is full of information, full of just wonderful. Look who's there, Stanley Baker on there. Wow, this film is great. Highly recommended. Great edition. BFI really know how to do such great editions. And that's it. I better go now. I'll be going on. So if you're new to the channel, please subscribe and we'll let you know when I put out these videos. If you look in the playlist, you can see all the things that I do, all the films that I've reviewed. Also, I do TV series and also a bit of music. And hopefully you might find something you might enjoy. If you have any comments as well, please put your comments down. I love to read your comments. I'll always reply. And also, please, if you can, please give this a like. If you give this a like, it gets it out to YouTube, so hopefully other people might enjoy it. So I really appreciate that. Thank you. And that's it. So all I've got to say is, I'll see thee again.